You're on.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Pulling Around Show. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Molina Mike. There's many things we could say about him, but he has a YouTube channel with a couple partners, and he keeps us up to date on everything in the professional pool world. If you haven't checked out his channel or their channel, it's called Dogging It Podcast or Dogging It. And then he also has windows open. So go check out his page. I could say a bunch of things about you, Mike, as far as what I like about you. But I want this interview to let people get to know you, because usually you're asking all the questions and you get to interview everyone else. I want this to kind of go a little deeper on you, and it's kind of hard to brag about yourself, so we're going to try to pry out some information of you and let some people who don't know about you get to know you.
Yeah, I'm used to being on y'all's end of the screen, not on this side of the screen. So it's a little different, that's for sure. But it's good to see you guys. I've been checking out some of your videos. I saw the one with Collins, and I see updates all the time. So you guys are doing a great job and getting on some great guests. I've known Sean for a hot minute. Sean was actually one of my first guys who I bought hand shoe jump cues from way back when, and then years later, now I'm kind of working with James a little bit, and um, it's so interesting the way that life works sometimes. But it's good to see you guys doing your
Appreciate
thing.
it. Appreciate what you're doing as well.
I was selling his jump cues when I couldn't even pay him for them. I remember owing him for like I remember like owing him for like a half of two jump cues for like a year. I was just broke and on the road, and he helped me out, and he would just send me cues and say, "Send me the money back when you get it."
It sounds like James ain't a whole lot changed.
Yeah.
He's great at building. He's not so good when it comes to business at times, but he's got one of the best hearts in the industry, and got a real passion for pool, and works himself to death. So real good friend of mine.
So, how did you develop an interest in billiards, and what motivated you to start the podcast?
So I kind of had my personal page, and buying and selling cues like with Sean was always just an excuse to like try different things and then make some extra cash on the side, but more so just to try different things. And then I started like getting relationships with players because of doing business with them, because a lot of players in the industry will get product in lieu of sponsorship, right? So guys like Sean and strong regional players, and then it turned into like pro level players, and I just started like getting bits of information within those dealings, and I thought, man, this is something that's pretty, like, I think it's cool to find out about. Maybe other people would. And so I had my personal page, and I just started doing like, from buying and selling, and then raffling shit off, and then it turned into kind of like dropping off, stuff that was going on in the pool world, whether it was action matches or just news in general. And it was only until maybe like, I think we just came on the second year anniversary of the page. But it was only like 2 years ago where I decided to like do more, have it be, I guess, a little bit more professional as much as I can be. And then on the podcast, that actually started completely by accident. So I just kind of like, I don't want to say looked into it, but it was just miscommunication. And then that's just how it kind of started.
Okay. How did you meet Joey Ryan? I love that guy, by the way.
Joey, I met actually in Round Rock at the Texas Open. I met him through another buddy of mine, Nick DeLeon. And so Nick was out there playing at the Texas Open, and I had seen Joey's podcast. And one day, me and Nick were going to go have some dinner out there. And he says, "Hey, you mind if I invite a buddy of mine, to join us?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, who's your buddy?" He said, "Joey Ryan." And I said, "Do you mean that redhead guy?" Okay, sure, why not? And so I remember at the time my phone was just blowing off. Old girl was just really busting my balls, and during dinner. And so I probably wasn't the most like social person or open to conversation at the time. I can't remember. But yeah, long story short, that's how I met Joey. And then you know, him and Mark started doing a show together, and then I kind of hopped in one time to help him out, and then they asked me my advice on you know, what I thought about the show, and I gave them my advice, my opinion, because I'm, you know, pretty good at opening my mouth and, you know, giving, you know, my 2 cents. Maybe it's not wanted. So um yeah, I gave them my thoughts on it, and they took it as me wanting to join the show, which it wasn't the case at all. And then yeah, I guess the rest is kind of history from there. So
Well, you guys are a perfect pair. I mean, you guys are opposites, definitely. And
yep.
I see the balance for sure. You can't help but see it. You two are a great team.
So who won the fantasy thing on the for the Open?
Joey did unofficially. We still have to go back and do some numbers. How he won, I don't know. Because after, so here's the deal. I'm filing a protest here, because here's my thing. Like, if I'm gonna do something, I want to follow through with it. And I was trying to get on these guys, like, hey, give me your scores, give me your updates, because we want to get people excited, right? We think it's a really good idea, and but it's not gonna follow through if they don't follow through. So everyone's got their own shit going on, and long story short, after like 2 days of me knocking on these motherfuckers' door to give me their scores and nobody would, I kind of just mentally checked out, and I was like, you know what, it's all good. So but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think there's opportunities like that in pool, and if you can have a way to like sweat, if you have a desire to really want to sweat it outside of like your own personal, like, you know, fan of a player or whatever, or just tournament, you know, following, you're going to want to just check it out that much more, right? You're going to want to check out more matches. You're going to be clicking on websites to see live scoring. You're going to want to check out their social media, like everything just kind of falls afterwards. But you want to have like as much of a modern approach to pool that can like resonate with someone who like follows fantasy football, for example, or fantasy baseball or whatever, you know what I mean? So, and there's plenty of opportunity like that in pool. It's just a matter of getting organized. But me and Collins are gonna like, we're gonna like, you know, redo some things, and I think the next event will be that much better.
I told Collins. I told
What a
Collins I
stud
wanted to
he
be the
is.
next one.
Yeah. Oh, you're more than welcome. Yeah, you guys, if you guys want to have a team, you guys are more than welcome to join in, because I'm giving the boot to some of these motherfuckers anyway. So you you'll be more than welcome.
Bye, Pinozo.
Yeah, yeah. Now Mike's
I
grandfathered in.
I call him
Mike's got the
Uncle
exclusive.
Mike.
Yeah, no, he's the
I got
goat, man.
Molina Mike and Uncle Mike.
Yeah, well, he's my guy. That's for sure.
How did you pair up with him? What a great partner.
Yeah, so Mike, I met, I think, at the expo a few years ago out in Vegas, the CSI Expo. And so, look, I mean, I got Billiards Digest behind me, and I got a lot of respect for Mike. And just like following pool, Billiards Digest has always been like in the fabric of that. You know what I mean? It's always been a part of it, but it was always for the longest time like one of the only avenues to find out information. And so, uh, in the course of like just doing my own thing, Mike shows up one day, and I don't even remember how we met, to be honest, or maybe it was whenever I started doing Nate's show is how we met. But um, I was kind of like in awe, man, to be honest, because I got a lot of respect for Mike before I even met him, and really admired him, what he did. And so to be working with him now, from time to time, means a lot to me. And there's been there's been a few times where Mike's had to check me, you know, and you know, give me his frank advice and opinions, and I wouldn't expect anything less from him. But it's a definite, like, it's a definite yin and yang, although Mike's kind of stepped out of line a little bit here and there in a great way, I feel like. So it's great to see him transform too. And Joey, for that matter, every now and then. It's not always, but
He's conservative. You're not. You know, it's great. It's great. I love the post you made where like Joe, not Uncle Mike, but Joey. Joey will write a full page dissertation on a T-shirt foul, but won't
oh yeah,
yeah. That was
well, you know, busting each other's balls is a part of it, you know. And the thing is, like, I always wanted to be sincere. Lately, Joey's kind of taken things a little more personal, on certain things. And so I try to just, let them know, hey, look, we're just having fun with it. And so it got a little awkward a little bit here lately. And but Joey, like, I love that most of the time when we're doing shit, it's never forced. Like, if Joey's got an opposite opinion, it's because that's his genuine thoughts. You know what I'm saying? So we never like go into things thinking like, well, hey, if you're gonna take that position, then I'm gonna take this other position. I want it just to be like two guys cutting up, and just, there just happens to be people who watch. But yeah, if I can needle my guy a little bit, I'm not gonna miss an opportunity, that's for sure. So
The banter is the
it's just,
best. It's like the pool hall
yeah.
in real life. When that banter is there, and
Well,
you got it.
you guys have all been there, right? Where everyone's just talking shit and just, but you're still boys. You can still like just needle them a little bit, and then give them hell from time to time. And but I owe a lot to Joey, in all honesty. Joey, I wouldn't be doing none of this if it wasn't for Joey. Not like on this, like the podcast or anything, because Joey was the one that was pushing me. Hey, you got to start a page. Hey, if we're doing this, let's do it right. And even learning all the tech stuff, like, I owe everything to Joey, and I got a lot of respect for him. But like any relationship, it's got its ups and downs. I love when we're in rhythm though, because it's not forced. It's very, the time, like I always say, if I feel like the time drags on, I don't want to do it, because then it's like it's no fun for me. If I have to force a conversation, I don't want to do it. And it's never been like that with Joey, or with Mike for that matter. So, or at least it's very rare if so. And I'm real fortunate to be able to work with them, because not only do they do things professionally, but they're sincere, and they're just fun guys too. So
Okay,
what's been your favorite interview?
that's a good question. My favorite interview. I don't know. I've never really thought about that. I mean, the first time we got on Shane was an obvious one, because that was kind of like a big deal. Guys were always like dragging their feet to come on the show. And there were some times where I got real discouraged about that. But getting Shane was a big one. And man, I don't know. I don't know. There's been so many guys. I don't want to short anybody, but I mean, we've gotten on, champions, before they were champions, while after they were champions, and just people that I genuinely admire. And so they're all great. It's not always easy, because some people are like fucking bland and tough to like pull out words from, where they'll give you 2-word answers and you're just like, oh God, when is this gonna end?
They don't have a personality.
No, yeah. But there's plenty of guys who do, and that was like the inspiration behind doing all this. And to be honest, like when Joey dipped out one time because of medical issues for like 3 months, and it was like, man, I still like, there's so many opportunities here, but I was scared to death to like do it on my own. Like I didn't feel like I could carry the conversation. I felt like I was good at being a part of the conversation. I didn't feel like I was good at leading the conversation. There's a very big difference. And but when Joey took like a leave of absence, it was kind of like, yo, I gotta just do it, because I don't want to miss out on the content. And as nervous as I was, and I still get, I just jump on in. But there's been some fun ones, man. Alex is always great to talk to. Darren, doesn't have a filter. There's just so many guys that are just very like they got a great personality. And if you got to see more of that, then I feel like you're going to want to tune in and cheer for them. Or if it rubs you the wrong way, it's like the Mayweather effect. I want to tune in to see that motherfucker lose.
Right.
So either way, as long as you're tuning into pool, then it's a win-win.
So who's the interview that you're after the most that you don't have yet?
Oh man, I guess Earl would probably be it. Earl and Efren. I guess I got to talk with Efren for a minute at the Derby, but it was never like a formal sit down interview. Rolando was trying to shake me down for some money, which I wasn't opposed to paying him, but I wasn't set up to do it that way. And Earl's got a manager too, and I'll tell you guys a funny story. I haven't told anybody this. So I tried to get Earl at the expo, not this year, but the year before. And he was like, after my match, okay. I said, all right, fine, Earl. After the match, he fucking darts out, didn't see the guy again. And then, so fast forward a couple of years, and just maybe like 2 weeks ago, I said, I'm gonna reach out again to Earl. And so I know he's got a manager, Diana. So if you message his Facebook page, you'll get an automated response, and then you call Diana, and she'll kind of like fill you out and size you up a little bit. So I introduced myself. I said, hey, my name is Mike. I got a page on Facebook, and I do a little podcast and blah, blah, blah. And so first thing she says, well, it's not going to be cheap to do it. And I'm like, okay, lady, I get it. Like, just tell me, however much it is, we can just cut the bullshit and it'll be fine. So we started cutting up for like a good 15, 20 minutes. We're going back and forth, right? And I'm really like vibing with her. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I got a shot here. And she's like, well, Mike Pinozzo has got an interview with them at the Open. So if you're going to do anything, just letting you know right now, it'll have to be after Mike. And I'm like, all right. So we're still cutting up, and we're already like, I'm driving to the gym, and it was like a 30-minute drive. And we've already been on the phone for a while. Well, then she's like, continue to ask me questions. And she's like, look, if you want, you can submit some questions in writing, just as long as you're not a shit stirrer like that Molina Mike. And in that split second, I had a choice to make, right? So it's either okay, I just play who she thinks I am and I continue it, or I really put her on her fucking heels and just let her know, that it's me. And I wouldn't waste an opportunity like that. And I said, well, ma'am, I am Molina Mike, and I appreciate the compliment, and I said, we try to have fun with it. And yeah, it actually went really well. I didn't submit any questions in writing because I don't really, I like being more on the fly with things anyway. Right. And I probably should have, but I ended up getting Earl for a little bit at the US Open, which was cool, but I still want to sit down with him and chat with him for a decent amount of time, like an hour or so. So that's one day I'm hoping.
I want to smoke a joint with him and just go live and let him just.
Oh, it won't take much. Earl will just go off on fucking tangents on his own. Like the first time I met Earl, I get invited to South Dakota to go to Shane's this tournament out in Shane's hometown. And Shane wanted to sell some memorabilia, and it was right at the beginning of COVID. And so we land, we check in, and then they're like, we're gonna go to this room, this lady who owns the pool room. It's her house, and we're gonna have a party there. It was the night before the tournament started. So okay, so it's a nice 2-story house, South Dakota. Everyone's super friendly. And they're like, hey, there's a pool table downstairs, and some guys are down there if you guys want to go hang out. Okay, cool. So we go down there, and Earl is down there. My first time meeting him. And he was like in full Earl mode. And I'm just like in awe, like big, like completely just fanning out, you know what I mean? And just keep my mouth shut, because all you want to do is listen to him go dead off like he can, and he will, and everything that I hoped it would be is what it was, but it was just Earl being Earl, So it won't take much. Just ask him a question or two, and he'll just go. It's beautiful.
Okay, last thing on Earl, and we gotta ask questions about you. All right, we're gonna get some stuff about you here in just a second. But I gotta say this about Earl. Remember, okay, there was an event in Tunica, Mississippi years ago. It's kind of like the Derby. They only did it once.
Ultimate 10-ball.
10-ball, yeah, I remember.
No, it was they did all 3 events: Banks, One Pocket, and 9-ball. It's the event that Justin won. Justin Hall. Anyway, it was a while ago, but all the pros are there, and there's this little shuttle bus that goes from the hotel to the event center. So you're in the lobby, and I'm about to get on the bus with Earl, right? And the bus is full, and I'm sitting like, right across from him in the aisle. And he holds court on this whole bus ride and tells the entire bus how fucked up this game is. Yep. And what he's gonna do to change it. I mean, just out of nowhere, he goes, do you guys know what I know about pool? You guys don't know anything. And no one says a word. We're all just looking at him.
That's all you can do. Yeah. he's old and he's senile, but he's a genius and he's articulate and he's definitely not shy. It's like the best mix. And Earl will still draw a crowd. It doesn't matter. Like people still want to see that guy.
He's the greatest athlete in the world.
He'll tell you too. He'll tell you. I've been at a hotel where Earl's doing sit-ups in the morning, at the gym. And I'm just like, holy fuck, he really is doing what he says he's gonna do. So
I would love to meet his dad. I'm sure he's not alive anymore, but like, or just the parents that created that monster.
they gotta be
I
pretty
mean,
special.
I don't mean that insultingly. I mean, what a unique person.
Yeah, for sure. Something took a turn though along the way. There's no doubt about it.
All right, I got a question about you.
Yeah.
Ready? Tell me about growing up, and not about pool, but about your family and kind of what you've done in your past, not just for work, but just in your life.
Yeah, so I'm from a small town in South Texas. In a lot of aspects, like pool's kind of just you know, very much like in the Stone Ages. And the way I got into it was when I was a kid, my dad remarried, and so I didn't grow up with him except for summers. And he used to live in Alabama, and so I used to spend summers going and flying to Birmingham. And so my stepmom, who I've known since I was young as I can remember, and she had a dad as my granddad, Ed Bell, from a small town in Blessing, Texas, and he owned like half the town. So when they moved to Texas, when I was like around 8 or 9, I started to go visit, and I remember to this day, I show up and in his game room, he had a Valley bar table, and he had all these photos, kind of like I do now around my room of players and their sign and big trophies. And I was just like in awe. And I was always real competitive as a kid. I loved playing sports. I loved playing baseball and basketball and even football until I got into like junior high, and then I started smoking weed. And then it was like, all right, I'm not really going to play sports because I want to get high. And so, um, but my grades were still great, and thankfully my mom put up with me enough throughout me being a pain in the ass, teenage kid, and I was always real independent. Um, had 2 jobs since I was like 16 years old, and but like was always into partying, even throughout all that time. And so fast forward when I turned 21, I finally was able to go out to the bar, right? And so you go to a bar to go drink with your boys, and what's there? It's that pool table I remember as a kid, right? And so I thought, well, I can get my competitive fix here, and I fell in love with it. It was a love of misery, because the pool is, it's like you love the game, but you hate the game, and then you get frustrated with the game, but you still want to come back because you're just a glutton for punishment, and you want to figure it out. You want to figure out the shot. You want to know what you did wrong. And I reconnected with my granddad, and he was only like 2 hours away, so I would go maybe like once every 2 or 3 weeks to go visit him, and we'd hit balls, all day till the evening, and then I'd drive back home, and then I'd do it again another few weeks. He passed away, I think maybe now it's been over 10 years. But he was the one that was like, I still hear him to this day whenever I do get a play. It's the advice that he would give me, and I miss him a lot. And I try to like, I get real busy in life, so I'm not always the best dad. And so but when I am, I try to like really stay engaged with my girls, and when I'm around, uh and I try to just remember like how those memories were me and my granddad were, and just try to make memories with my girls, do the things that they want to do, let them be who they are, help them along the way and guide them, of course, but just enjoy life with them. And it's that's kind of like a mix between how I got introduced to pool and a bit of my backstory. And but I'm really grateful. I've been sober now for, I want to say mm, I want to say probably like 8 years or so, somewhere around there.
Good deal.
And yeah, listen, it's not for everyone. I'm not sitting here to preach about it. It was just a personal thing that, I was never the guy to just have one drink. I was never the guy to have, just one joint or one anything, and it was never my thing, and I still, to this day, I'm still an addict. I don't go to meetings or anything. I got a real addictive personality. I just channel it into healthier things now, work and exercise and family and, all those things. I still am all consumed by all those things, just like I was when I wanted to go drink, right? But I hone it in a different direction. So, but it's always something I'm aware of. And luckily, I don't really have those demons anymore where like I'm fighting the craving or anything like that. So I'm fortunate in that regard. But I never forget where I came from, because I still get blown away like doing all this shit and being able to like be at these great events, because it just reminds me of my granddad, and seeing those photos and that he had on his wall, and I remember being a drunk and staying up at like, 3, 4 a.m. watching world championships in Qatar and in China, and just thinking, man, I would love to go see something like that one day. And as a matter of fact, because they used to have a lot of women events in Oklahoma, I remember. And Oklahoma was always the one where I'd be like, man, one day I want to go over there, but it seemed like a world away, because I'm an addict and I'm a drunk and and I'll never get there. So like now I'm very much appreciative of when I'm around people and get to experience, these great players play and see these matches, see all these things, because it's like, I was never supposed to be here, man. That path was like very dark and very like, I was never going to get out of it until I decided I wanted to get out of it, And so it's dope to be able to do all these things now. And I never like take it for granted, ever, because it's a passion, So.
3 daughters, 3 daughters.
4 girls. I got 4 girls.
Four.
I
Four.
got so my 4-year-old, she's my youngest now. Or maybe no, yeah, she's 4. 7 is my Juliana. Madeline's my youngest. She's the one that always comes on the show from time to time. My oldest is with her mom. With her mom, and her name's Ileana. She's 12, 13, and she's right at that age where like dad's not cool anymore. I'm having a real hard time with that shit, And so it's it's I got to be more involved than ever, because she is at a really like fragile age in life for a girl. So
You just don't make
but
boys.
You're in trouble.
no, well, and then my Jaslyn, she's 10. I've been raising her since she was 6 months old. So and she's amazing. She's always wants to hang out with me and do stuff with me, and they all are great. I love all my girls. But yeah, no, I never really thought I want to have a boy one day. I really wanted to stop having kids like a couple of kids ago, but I wouldn't trade my girls for the world, So we just figure it out, and I love the time I get to hang out with them. And now they're getting to an age where like they're like, it's not a chore to hang out with your kids, because when your kids are young, it's like, fuck, you got to change diapers, you got to, you can't do things because you got to babysit. And now
It's like this little
yeah,
broke friend. It's like your little broke friend that needs money
yes,
and doesn't know anything.
yes, and that just cries at everything. And my youngest one, she'll go with me wherever. Like if I go to the gym, she'll go with me. If I go to the pool room, she'll go with me. If it doesn't matter what I'm doing, like me and her are thick as thieves. And her mom, just like maybe like a month ago, she called me and she was like, Madeline's not going to be able to, or said, you're going to be real disappointed. And I said, what happened? She said, well, Madeline's not going to be able to go to school this year. And I said, are you fucking kidding me? I'm thrilled to death. That's my buddy. That's when I'm in town, me and her are doing everything together. So I couldn't be more happy. I mean, of course, I wish she would have gotten a little ahead on life, and gone to school this year. But I love hanging out with my girls. They're great. They're a lot like me, which I don't know is a great thing at times, but I thoroughly enjoy them, to say the least. So.
Are they little smart asses or not?
Oh, of course, yeah. They're little opinionated little women like their dad is. They don't have any. They don't got any. Worry on letting you know where you're wrong. Kind of like how I can be at times. So
No filter, huh?
no, I remember one time. So I was with my Jaslyn, and we're sitting there, and it was like right around Christmas time, right? And my Juliana, she was just, I don't know what the hell I crawled up her ass, but she was just not having it that night, right? And Jasmine looks at me and she says, "Man, Dad, she's pissed, huh?" And I'm like, and I had to like, I had like a crossroads, right? Like, I'm appreciating that she's smart enough to, know what that word means, right? And use it in a proper way. But then it's like, all right, you're still a little too young to be talking like that. So just pump the brakes a little bit. But I was like, yeah, she is pissed, but hey, you probably shouldn't be saying that right now. So just take it easy. So, but they're great. They got their own personalities. They're their own little people now, and they're growing up to be great young women. And I want to support them in any way that I can, not just like what a dad should do, but just, be there for them and, whatever I can do to help them achieve whatever dreams they have. And I always tell them, look, don't, uh, don't settle for what you think you can achieve, you know, because it doesn't matter where you're at. Like, it doesn't matter what, how far you may be behind where you think you ought to be in life. You can always do what you want to do. And if you work hard, and if you're just relentless, you can just, the sky's the limit. I'm a firm believer in that. So,
Well, the reason I want to talk about your kids is because people don't realize, or they don't really put it together, that you're traveling all around the country for days at a time, and that's a trade-off. You got to be away from those kids, from your family, and how do you balance that? Like, you get back, is it okay? We're having movie night, like we're having dad time. Like,
oh, of
how do you
course.
balance that?
I get exhausted traveling now. Anything more than a couple of days is like 3 days is tough. So I just got back from the US Open and was gone for like a week. And so I never got caught up on sleep. It was late nights. And when I'm on the road, I always, always, always try to stay on Texas time. It doesn't matter what time zone I'm in. So I'm always trying to just keep my same routine. So I'm getting up at 6, which is really like 5 a.m. here in Texas, but I'm going to the gym. I'm staying focused. I'm staying, on point where I feel like I want to be mentally, because that affects it. Um, but after a while, it's like, man, I'm 37, so like that shit catches up to me, right? You have 6, 7 days of 4 or 5 hours of sleep every day, and you're on your feet, for I don't know what the exact number was each day, but I think I did something like 9,000 steps a day, while I was out there. So, and I'm up at 6 at the gym, then I'm out there at the venue by 8, and then I'm working there from like 8 to whatever it is, 8 to 9, somewhere around there. And so doing that for like a week straight. And the last night, so the last night they had an after party. Um, and but I had a flight in Philly at 6 a.m. and Atlantic City was like an hour away. So I dipped out like at 1, drive to Philly. This is like after a week of getting my ass whooped, right? Drive to Philly, get to the airport, find like around 3. My flight was starting to board like at 5:15, and there was like nobody there, but the line was fucking massive there at Delta. So I'm traveling all morning. I finally get here and I'm just beat, man. No sleep the night before, been on the road for a week. But I owe my girls, right? I promised them, hey, I'm gonna take you here, I'm gonna take you there, and they remember, and I gotta live up to that shit. I got a response. I owe them, whatever, whether it was a gift or we're gonna go get pizza, or we're gonna go watch a movie or whatever. There's no downtime. You get home and you hit the ground running, because it's not fair to them that I use their time with me to take that break. You know what I'm saying? I just gotta balance my own shit better. So and they're great at, but it's not like, even though I'm exhausted, it's easy to get up for them, because you get a hug from them after being gone for a week, you ain't tired anymore.
No.
They tell you how much they miss you, and you feel it, like you genuinely feel it in your soul. You know what I'm saying? And that's with all my girls. And so it ain't easy. And when me and their mom are having a hard time, there's been times where I don't get to talk with them for a week, because I don't want to call her phone and have to hear her shit, right? So then by default I don't get to talk to my girls for a week, which is very difficult, and but we figure it out, and I make up for it whenever I'm here, and I love kicking it with them because they're a lot of fun.
And
They're a
your
lot of fun.
girls are the last people that you ever want to let down. because they
Yeah.
will remember it.
Yeah. I don't like, listen, I'm not perfect. I've disappointed them plenty of time, you know, and I hate it though. And I always remember when I do, and they remember when I do, you know, and so nobody's perfect, I guess, and but I'll make that much more of an effort the next time for them, you know. And when they'll tell me, come on, Dad, we said we were gonna go here, and I'm like, I said that? They're like, yeah, you did. And I'm like, well, then I guess we better go, you know. So but listen, they're all you get these messages from people all the time, like, listen, they're only gonna be young once. And it seems like as much as days flew by when I was, you know, drinking and partying, days are much more faster being sober and living the life I am right now. Like it completely flies by. And like I don't, my Jocelyn, like I said, I started raising her when she was 6 months old. She's 10 now. Like I don't even know where that decade went,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay, do they
So
know what you do, Melina? Do they know do you talk to them about like what you like daddy's going to work or
Do they know you're a
daddy's leaving?
celebrity?
no, it's not that. It's yeah, I guess it's hard to explain because I get asked that from people all the time. You know, like now I'll tell people, you know, I do some media stuff in the pool world in a nutshell, but I feel like I do a lot more than that. So, but for my kids' sake, it's easier for them when like their teacher asks them, I guess, you know.
Yeah, like if it
But
was bring your dad to school day, like what are they
yeah,
gonna say?
yeah.
What do
Um,
they say? You
the,
know, what does daddy
the
do?
cool the cool thing is that, you know, if they ever want to see what dad's doing, it's usually pretty easy because I'm posting stuff all the time, and I'm usually on some either filming or being filmed in some regard. So it's like you can kind of see how the days are going for me and where I'm at. But now they want to go with me. So now I got to figure that out. Now I got to budget that because, and I got to start planning
That's your
that.
camera crew, dude. Come on.
Yeah, they're the team. They're the team. So one of these days, one of these trips here pretty soon, I'm gonna have to bring them along and at least let them experience it. Because they've been to like Texas Opens before. They've been to like, I think one of my girls or two of my girls have been to like, you know, a day where Federer was playing Jeff DeLuna. And so they've kind of gotten their feet wet a little bit, but you know, it's like anything else, they're kids, so everything just is oohs and ahs, you know. So um yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, so we talked about kids. Chris, what else do we need to know about Molina that everyone in the world doesn't know already?
Um, what's up next?
It's a good question. Home. Home is up next. That's all I want to think about right now. So I don't really got anything planned, I think, for until towards the end of the year. There's a couple of events going on and I've gotten asked to come to here or there, but I don't really have any interest in going. I've been on the road a lot over the last couple of months, and especially like throughout the summer, just really hit it hard, like nonstop every day or, you know, every other day. And I'm just looking forward to being home. I'm gonna go into Sacramento at the end of the year for the Amar King Memorial, so I'm looking forward to that. Um, and then I may go to Moscone, but I don't really want to go, to be honest, 'cause I don't really want to travel overseas. So, um, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And who knows? I say that now, and I may go somewhere next month. So you never know.
Well, I'm going to Derby for my first time, so
Oh, you never been?
never. It's because my wife's anniversary is on January 31st, and I'm not going to drag her to a pool tournament on her
Okay.
anniversary, but
Smart man.
it doesn't fall this time on our anniversary, so we're going for the last 4 days.
Okay. So advice number one: pace yourself because Derby can be a grind. And at least for me, anyway, it's like you really got to choose what shift you're going to be on, whether you're on the day shift for like the tournament or you're on the night shift for the action, because there's a big difference and you
Right.
can't do both, you know? So pace yourself, figure out what shift you're going to be on and just soak it all in because it's a lot of fun. Derby's a great time.
Now he's taking his wife, or his wife's taking him. So
Yeah.
he's going to be on her shift. You can
Yeah.
bet.
That's true.
Oh
I'm,
no, she'll tell me to go do whatever I want to do, but
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm glad she's going.
yeah, no, it's a great time. I mean, you know, you're in Indiana in fucking January. It's freezing cold. You're in that morgue for a week. At least in your case, you'll only be there for 4 days, which is great, you know. But hey, you want to hear a little nugget? I hear that Derby may not be in Indiana too much longer, and I've not posted that anywhere at all. So I hear the Derby may be moving and may be moving soon. So
It wouldn't hurt my feelings at all.
no, it wouldn't hurt mine either because I do not like the cold. So
Well, I won't either now with all these broken bones. The cold's going to hurt me.
Oh yeah, dude,
yeah,
you need
yeah.
one of those carts at Derby, one of those
I've got it. I've got
one
a
of those
scooter.
buggies.
I've got
No,
a
I
scooter.
mean the powered one.
I
Like
do.
you sit
I have a
down.
big one, Cadillac.
There you go. Big
Yeah, because it's
big
like a
wheel.
mile from your hotel to the event.
And it's
mean, you
further
gotta
than
walk.
that because we're staying in Louisville.
Oh, it's even better then. Yeah, good luck with that, buddy.
We're staying.
Yeah.
It's
It's always better to stay on site because the driving back and forth and in the cold, and then you're just burnt out. You're like, I don't want to drive, but I don't mind walking. Just for next
Then there's a
time.
blizzard.
If there's a blizzard, there's a good chance because you're in fucking Kentucky.
There's a 25% chance that place is going to get iced in at that time of year. It's just going to happen.
it's just
I
snuggle
said
weather,
being
man.
conservative. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, what is y'all's? Have you reached your vision for dogging, or is there
No, not
still
at
a
all. No, not even close, man. I don't know what the future's gonna hold. I want to just continue. I get home and I'm working on graphics. I'm thinking about upping my equipment, my computer, my cameras, my all that shit. I want to figure out like a better more like friendlier way to bring people information. So it's like the podcast is great and all, but um people just don't consume information like that. I feel like it's all short, quick. It's fucking Twitter, it's TikToks, it's Facebook posts, it's short videos, and then you have to figure out a way to like find nuggets within that'll resonate with people. But the hour-long stuff is a little bit tougher. I'm not going to stop doing it, but I just want to continue to be more creative as far as like how I deliver things to people's like phone, or computer or whatever. So, um, yeah, I literally I've been working on updating graphics all morning long for the show and then for the page, and I'm still like I gotta like learn how to do shit. I gotta learn how to do reels. I gotta learn how to do what videos to take, what pictures to take. And I gotta get a better camera for that. And so it's always going. It's always on my mind. It's always just thinking ahead. And I don't like being I don't like being one to like follow something that's going on. I want to be the one to like
lead?
pave the way. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I like
Well,
being
no
unique.
doubt, no doubt you're a leader. You got big balls. You're not afraid to walk up to anyone and
Well, that's not
interview
always a
them to
good
talk.
thing though. Fuck, I pissed off a lot of people doing this shit, man. A
Yeah,
lot of people. You know, yeah, having a public opinion. Like, look, there's a lot of people that'll just fucking roast me on a regular. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that will show love like you guys do, and it blows me away when I'll go somewhere and people like come up to me like they know me, and then I'm like shocked because I'm like, well, cool, you actually do watch. It's great, man. And it still takes me back, but um there's still like people that can kind of like discourage you from doing it, you know what I mean, or just kind of like suck the life out of you and knock you for it. But it's it's great. I thoroughly enjoy it, and I'm not saying the way I do it is the best. I've rubbed people the wrong way, I've offended people, I've pissed off people, I've had to apologize many times to people for saying things in maybe a disrespectful way, because there's a balance, right? You can have an opinion but not be an asshole to someone, and I'm not always like the cleanest guy at doing that shit. So I'm still like learning my way with it and really just realizing that it's a platform and you gotta like there's some responsibility to it as well. Because before it was just like, yo, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do and not think about it. But you got to be like very aware and responsible of it because it's I don't want people to get misinformation from me, but I'm never at the same time, I never want to do things and think, well, what would you want to hear from me? I want to just do how I want to do it. And if I got to adjust a little bit to maybe be a little more respectful, then I'll do that. But it's always like sincere, for better or worse. So,
Would you compare it to like talking to your kids?
what do you mean? Like in what regard?
Well, you want to get your point across, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you're on the hook with them. They're not going anywhere. So you've got to be respectful, and you've got to present it. You
Yeah. I
can't,
guess.
you can't burn them. You can't cut deep with your comeback. You've got to,
Yeah. I could see the parallels there for sure. With I I never want to say like, do as I say, not as I do kind of parent. That's never been my thing. I always try to like lead by example when it comes to them. Doing this, it's I never want it to be like I'm preaching though. Like I kind of have to do sometimes to teach my girls, because they can, if they're steer down a road where I know it's not going to be beneficial to them. For this, it's more like I just give my opinion on things, and look, I'm not an 800 speed player. I've never won a world title. I'm very aware of my place when it comes to like on the table. You know what I'm saying? And so I never try to be anything more than what I am. You know, I've been lucky to be able to build a page the way that I have. That part I'm still blown away by because I never understand what works for people. Like there's never been like this code where I think like if I get this, it's gonna grow the page 5,000 viewers, or it's gonna, create so much more engagement. Because the things that I think will do great sometimes are a flop. And then the things that I think are gonna be terrible go through the roof. And then I'm just sitting there like scratching my head, like, God damn, how do I figure this shit out? And you can't. You just gotta do it the way you want to do it. And just hopefully it clicks with people. Hopefully that like they they love your vibe, they love your passion, they love your enthusiasm and the way you bring it to them, right? But it can't be like boxed up and cookie cutter where like I think they're gonna like this. No, they're gonna like you, or they're gonna fucking hate you, and they're gonna want to watch either way because they want to see you make a fool out of yourself, or they want to see you, do some really, groundbreaking type shit, So I don't fucking know, man. This thing is still like it blows me away sometimes. But I'm having fun doing it. Luckily we're able to make, a living doing it for now. And so in the meantime, I'm going to continue to do it. So we'll see.
It's when you have haters that you're doing something right.
It blows me away, man. It's like, I mean, I guess it don't, because I'll critique somebody's game, but I always try to keep that shit like just, it's nothing personal. It's just if I say something about your game, it's just about your game. It's not about who you are as a person, or your integrity or anything like that, right? Like if you dog a ball, we got a little bit of dog in you. Okay, that's just part of it. Like there's plenty of guys who can't even be in that spot. That's a fair argument to have as well, right? But like I never want it to be personal, and I'm
people are
not perfect.
easily offended.
Yeah, yeah.
Quick to take
Here's the
offense.
deal. I'll just block a motherfucker. If I get it, if I know you and you got advice for me, it's one, like if you want to like, check me, I'm good with it. 100% I'm good with it. And even if you want to have the other side of the argument debate, I'm good with that too. But it's when you're a dick and you deliver it in an asshole way, and I'm like, I don't know you like that. And here's the deal. I don't got to be around you. You know how easy it is for me to get you out of my life? I click a button and it's gone, out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. And that's it. And people will say, "Oh, well, Mike's soft, or Mike doesn't like." No, motherfucker, you just get on my nerves. I don't want to be around you. That's it. My day can be better without it.
Now
So
there is something to be said about standing up in front of people and making and voicing your opinion and standing up for what you believe in. You're going to get rocks thrown at you. I mean, it's just going to
of
happen
course.
in any group. And pool, the characters in pool, this ain't golf. This is people that hang out in bars and drink and gamble, and they're going to let you have it, man. So
Yeah.
But there is something to say about blocking people or unfriending people because they don't like your opinion, or that you don't like their opinion, because it's like start a thread and then whoever argues with you, just block them. You seen that before?
Of course. Yeah. 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 I'm like, it's for me, respect is everything, right? And if I take some shit you say as disrespectful, I ain't got no time for it. I just don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you think the other way from me. I'm fine with that. I'm around people like that all the time. You know, and it's usually the ones that want to talk the most shit are the loudest ones out of everyone, you know, are the loudest ones. Or they'll say, you know, hey, I was commenting on your thing, you know, why did you, you know, block me from your page? And I'm like, look, I don't know where you thought I owed you a platform to talk on, but I don't. You know, I don't owe you a fucking thing. You know, but I've also had guys that'll tell me, hey, Mike, why did you block me from your thing? I didn't mean anything by it. And I'll say, well, you know what? I appreciate you reaching out. Water under the bridge, unblock them. Just, you know, don't be disrespectful. That's all I ask, you know? And so I'm good with that too, you know? But it is fair to, like, when you are doing this shit like you guys are, the good and the bad. It's not just fair on the good. It's got to be fair on the bad too. Like, you got to be open to taking it on the chin when you deserve to take it on the chin. You
Right.
know, it's like I had Joey tell me, he was talking shit to me the other day, and he was like, I forgot what we were talking about, but in a nutshell, he was like, you know, he was saying, man, I didn't appreciate that dig. And I said, Joey, look, it ain't personal. I said, I'll tell you if it's personal from me to you, you know, like, it's nothing personal. We're bantering, you know, and it's part of the fun of it all. But if I never want to come in here and walk on eggshells. I get enough of that shit in life, homie. You know what I'm saying? I get enough of that shit at the house where I gotta fucking worry about, you know, being a certain way or not pissing her off or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't want that here. This is, you know, my area. I want to, and don't get me wrong, you can do it in a balanced way where you're not overly being ugly to people. You know, I had two people recently that I got a lot of respect for, ironically enough, who I found out they unfriended me. The way that I found out about it was because Joey messaged them during this whole WPA thing. And I'm not going to say who they are, but they're on the like kind of on the WPA kind of side of things, right? Not directly, but indirectly. And so Joey messages them, and the guy was like, hey, listen, you know, we we used to tune in, we used to love your content, and now it just kind of took a turn. You guys are just matchroom apologists now, and blah blah blah. And Joey's like sharing with me an excerpt of the conversation. So I go and I look at this person, and I saw they unfriended me, and I'm like, you know, it's pretty chicken shit, because if I had a problem with you, like, if I know you and we're in the industry together, if I got a problem with you, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come to you. Anytime I've ever had a question or wanted to talk with someone, look, if I'm going to say something about you, you better believe you'll always have an opportunity to come on and have an open discussion with me about it, with this on right here, with this on, you know, and we can really talk about it. Now, we can talk about it in private too. Don't get me wrong, right? But that's not as much fun, because I want to do it where let everybody see about it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
anyway, I found out that they had unfriended me. And so I'm like, that's kind of chicken shit. Joey took it real personally. Like, I don't feel good about this, Mike. And I said, look, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you know, because that's just not, I'm not going to apologize for something that I'm passionate about. I'm not going to apologize for something that I feel is wrongdoing, you know? And listen, if they think I'm wrong or they don't agree with me, right? Tell them the door's open. You know, the door's open. I'll gladly accommodate my schedule for them to come on, you know. Now, maybe they may not like it because of the way the conversation may go, or they may be made a fool of publicly or whatever, right? I'm not going to ambush them, but don't give me that shit where you're real passive aggressive and want to unfriend me like that, especially if I know you, man. If I know you, come fucking talk to me, you know? Come at, like, Mike, when all this WPA stuff was going down, Mike was like, hey, listen, you're coming off real strong. And I'm paraphrasing here, right? He's like, you know, you got to figure out which way you want to take this, because, you know, it kind of got a little out of hand. And I respect Mike, man. You know, like, I genuinely value his opinion. I bust his balls and I'll call him old and I'll say this because we're friends, right? And we'll needle each other. But there's very few people who I respect in the industry more than Mike, because he's been here doing this shit for over 40 years, you know? And so, but I'll also say, hey, look, Mike, I think you've been a little soft when it comes to some of this stuff. And I feel like both sides are very fair. And I've had to go back and think, like, man, how did I say this? I called somebody an asshole. I had to go back and apologize to them. Actually, I called two guys assholes. I had to go back and apologize to them. I did it in private first, Now, matter of fact, it was 3 guys. Now that I think about it, not 2. It was 3. But
There's a
I had to go
list.
back. Yeah, I had to go back and apologize to them in private, and then apologize to them in public because I said that shit in public. You know what I mean? And I'm not doing it to gain public favor. I'm doing that because I feel like they are deserving of that because I talk shit about them like that in an ugly way when I shouldn't have. You know,
I'm probably
in
gonna have
public.
to make an apology, just like other people, to Hunter eventually. But the dude needs to get up and
Oh God, yeah.
defend himself or something. But I've had people say to me like privately, defend Hunter, and I just let him defend himself. I mean,
Funny thing about that story,
you're a
I
professional
tried
pool
to.
player. You should be able to stand up in front of people and talk.
Hey, listen, the drama, like no one's ever talking about Scott Frost and Hunter Lombardo playing at the U.S. Open unless some drama happens, right? Like, let's just be real about it. None of them are playing in semifinals on a Friday night, but all that is fair conversation. It's great for like the old. It's a big piece of it's a small piece of a big puzzle, right? On that story, though, from what I heard, and I never came out with it and said it because Hunter never wanted to come on, from what I understood, but what I had heard from a good friend of mine who was there at that moment when that happened and saw a big part of that match was that Scott had been telling Hunter for a hot minute, hey, watch your shirt because your shirt's leaning over on things. And nobody ever knew this. Scott didn't say it when I talked to him. I only found out from someone who I really trust. And he was the one that had told me, Mike, do you want me to see if I can get Hunter on? And I said, absolutely. Now I got Scott on maybe like a day later, right? And Scott gave me his, and Scott played everything right. You know, he said all the right things and he was very sincere. Scott had a leg to stand on when it came to the argument. I'm firmly in Scott's camp on that thing, but there's other sides to that story that I think a lot of people maybe wouldn't have been so fired up about if they knew that Scott was giving Hunter a hard time about his shirt throughout that match. And then it so happens to culminate about a shirt at Hill. I don't think it's ironic.
That's a great context. Without that context, I mean,
It's a different, you have a different opinion, Sean, right? But that's why and look, I didn't reach out to Hunter personally. I trusted that my friend who told me this when he said, hey, do you want me to ask Hunter? He said, yeah, I'll ask him. I said, great. Never followed up with me, you know, but I'll always want to bring in that because look, I've put my foot in my mouth plenty of fucking times doing all this, you know, plenty of times. And you know what I did instead of continuing to do so is that I'll go straight to the horse's mouth. I don't want to assume. I'd rather ask you and hear it from you. And then I'll base my opinion off of not hearsay or somebody on the internet or whatever. You're going to hear it from me, you know? And I feel like that way is always better. And when I heard that though, man, when I heard that about the Hunter thing, I said, you know what? That's a very, very different story now because now there's history as to Scott doing it to him. And to be honest, I don't think Hunter was too out of line. If you hear the audio, I think he just says, hey, you know, watch your shirt in so many words, you know, and then it kind of just escalated from there because of the audience and whatever else. Right. But it's interesting how it's that old saying, right? There's 3 sides to every story, boys, you know? So
now look, if this wouldn't have happened and been publicized, that 5-minute video of their whole match, this rule's never going to get changed and updated. I mean, what a shitty rule.
Yeah.
Tie goes to the sitter. That's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, I know they're going to go back and examine it. We were going to have Brendan on, who runs the tournament for Matchroom, along. We were going to have him on the next day, I think it was, but life just got in the way. But no, for sure they're going to go back and revisit it. I don't think anybody was happy with the outcome of it. You know, if I'm Hunter, I'm never taking that ball in hand. I'm never calling that foul. You know, I just want to make that real crystal clear. But look, both of them have been known to be a little vocal from time to time. Both of them have, not just one, but both of them have, you know? So if there's a little bit of fuck you going on, then okay, let there be a little bit of fuck you going on. I get it. You know, oh yeah, motherfucker, well, fuck you. I'm going to call a foul on you. I get it, you know? But and I know Hunter wasn't too thrilled with the content and the way that it was covered and all that. But look, these guys got to realize it's a different age and pool, you know, especially if you go into an event like that. If you ain't on camera directly, you better think there's a good chance you may be on camera indirectly. So everything you do is fair game, for better or worse. And how people take it, well, that's up to them, right? But the content is open to be out there. And look, now the whole internet blew up, and then you know what they did? They were following Hunter's next match because I want to see that motherfucker lose, is what they were thinking, And when else are you following Hunter Lombardo play some dude from Italy that ain't nobody ever heard of? Never. You're never following that match. But you were that
how
day.
in the world does Hunter ever end up the villain in any story in life?
Yeah.
I mean, he's like soft, easy, nice guy.
Especially compared to Scott. Scott is known to Scott is known to be the shit stirrer. Scott is known to be the one to
go off,
push some buttons. Yeah. And I love Scott. Scott's great, but there's a reputation there. Scott came out smelling like a rose by the end of it because the way he handled everything. He handled it with grace and class and but
restraint.
Yes. I mean, look, if there wasn't nobody there and they're playing at some pool room out in fucking middle of nowhere, you know what he's doing? We can just step outside and handle this shit. If you want to do that, right? That might have been where it would have gone, So but yeah, I was real surprised when I heard that other side of the story. I never asked Scott about it because I only heard about it after I interviewed Scott. And so but yeah, I mean, if Hunter wants to come on and talk about now, look, if stuff like this, it's got to be in the moment, right? It's got to be now. I don't want to talk about it in 2 weeks from now. I don't want to talk about it in a week from now. News is very in the moment. And I hate when guys will tell me, okay, maybe next week when I get home. No, you know why? Because something else will be going on next week.
Dirtgate's over.
Yes, it is. It is. Well, I mean, at least for some, so it's fun conversations though.
Well, that rule, especially with Matchroom and using WPA or not using WPA, the rules matter. And that's a great example of, I said it was a shit ref job, the worst ref job ever, but it's really just because she didn't know what to do. She didn't know the answer there.
Well, all ball fouls is a shitty rule anyway.
Yeah, but how do you handle a disagreement between two players? That is the ruling that needs to be talked about. Not can you touch a ball or not. We know that.
But if it was cue ball fouls only, then that argument would have never happened.
It won't be that way. They won't let that happen in professional pool.
No, there'll be some adjusting, and I feel like a lot of things in life. I feel like, especially in the pool world, just use some fucking common sense. That's all it is. Use some common sense. Now they're kind of like the police officers when they're out there. And look, you got a little girl standing up to a guy like Scott. That ain't the easiest spot to be in neither, And so you got to give her kudos and respect to at least standing tall, in a very male dominated world when they're out there.
Look, when you're a ref, you gotta stand by your call, right?
You got to. If not, they'll fucking eat you alive.
Yeah. I got a little story, if it's okay, you guys. This is supposed to be about you, Molina, but I got a story about umpires in baseball. You're gonna love this. So there's a rookie umpire, a not rookie umpire, and then there's a veteran umpire. Okay, 3 different levels. They asked the first umpire, the rookie umpire, how do you call balls and strikes? He says, look, if it comes over the plate and it's between the shoulders and the knees, I call it a strike. The next one, the more experienced umpire says, they say, how do you call balls and strikes? He says, well, if it's over the plate in between the knees and I think it's a strike, I call it a strike. Okay, or it's a ball. The veteran umpire, they asked him the same question. How do you call balls and strikes? He says, look, they ain't shit till I call them. I raise my right hand, 80,000 people go home. I raise my left hand and everybody cheers. They're not balls or strikes until I call them. And I was just like, oh.
All right. And you open yourself up to be critiqued every fucking one.
Yeah, they don't have an easy job, but let's not reward them for poor jobs. Emily probably shouldn't have said that these are the best refs in the world that day. I think save that for another day.
Look, just because you fuck up doesn't mean that you're not the best at your position. I think everyone's had fucking terrible moments or moments they wish they would have had back, you know? And it's a lot, look, it's a lot easier to have that thought about someone who's maybe never been around, right? They're honest on the biggest of stages and they're making the best of what they can, I feel like, you know? You guys still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I don't. My internet's kind of taking a dive, but yeah, you know, it's find me outside of like the obvious, like the man and lady for God, what's the name from overseas? The two refs who've been around for forever. You know, those are the only other two people that come to mind. But in modern pool, you know what Marcel and whatever her name is, I can't think of her fucking name, but them being in that spot, I think they are the best refs in the game. You know, you can't tell me you're gonna find others that are better than them or at least willing to do it or that are doing it. And these aren't refs they pulled out of the fucking gas station either. These are refs that have a decorated career in snooker, you know. But you're never gonna bat 1,000 ever.
Look
It's
how
just
we
a lot
felt about
easier.
look how we felt about the ref that called the foul on Jeremy in Moscone Cup for asking for the ball to be clean.
So, yeah, what's that same guy who called the foul on the other one, Marcel? Yeah,
They're like
but
cops, man. You can love them or not, but they're there to enforce the law or the rules,
yeah,
so to speak, as a ref. So I get that. Uh, but
But
you
we didn't like it.
you
no,
gotta talk about the situation, not about their call. The situation was is she didn't know what to do, and she honestly was more concerned about being right in that moment than figuring out the
but you
right
have to
call.
though. You have to because even if you're gonna be wrong, you at least have to you have to have the strongest fucking backbone because if not, you know what'll happen? Nobody in that fucking room will ever respect you or give you credit. They'll always wanna go, they'll let me talk to your manager type shit. You know? She
Well,
don't
no,
have
in this case, they said, "Can we get a senior ref over here?" She goes, "I'm the senior ref," basically.
yeah, that's the
Uh,
way I don't fault her for that shit neither because you got to do that because like I said, if not, they're gonna eat you up and spit you back out.
Stand firm
Everybody
in your
out there.
beliefs.
Yeah, even if you're wrong, fuck it. You know, it ain't easy, but you're in that spot. You make the call, then you go from there. You know, and look, at the end of the day, Scott probably fouled. I mean, it was a chicken
yeah,
shit foul to call, but Scott probably fucking fouled. There's a good chance.
and
You
when
know?
but it should have been over, in my opinion, once Scott said he didn't.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Agreed. I agree. I agree 1,000,000%. I tried to talk to Marcel right after, like the very next morning, and I pull up my fucking phone like this, and he was like, "Oh no, 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 no," and I was like, all right, fair enough, fair enough." But I had a really good conversation with them, uh, after the tournament, and look, they know that it's fair game to talk a lot of shit about some of the things they do, you know. But you got to look at it like this: everyone will harp on the Moscone call, whenever mind the other, 150 calls they probably got right that day, or that week, right? Everyone will focus on the foul that they missed on this shot, but never mind the other 200 they got right leading up to that. You
Right.
know, nobody's
Right.
gonna bat 1,000, boys. Nobody is. You know, it doesn't mean that they're any less credible in their position just because they make mistakes. You know, but it's like anything else, like you guys being on here or me being on a show or whatever, you are on a stage and you're open for better or worse, the good and the bad,
That's
you
right.
know? And so, but they're strong enough to go and take it. I guarantee you they see most of it because I learned that over the course of the week, you know? I never realized how much that they get to see some of the stuff that goes on online, but it's a lot easier to talk shit. And I'm not saying this towards you or anyone personally, but it's a lot easier in general to talk shit about people you don't know. When you get to know someone and you realize where they're coming from, then it's a different story because then you're like, all right, they fucked up, but it doesn't mean they had an agenda when they fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, but look, man, we're talking about refs at the U.S. Open. This is where pool's at. It's great. You
All
know,
right,
where
okay, we
else?
got to go back to Molina though.
All right,
It's
what are we
about
talking about?
you. Do you play anymore? Or I mean, do you even have time to play? What's going on with that?
No, I'll hit balls every now and then when I'm at the house. It just depends. I love playing one pocket more than anything. I fucking hate playing rotation with a passion. But um, yeah, it just depends, man. When I'm home, I'll have like a couple of, I really have one guy that I'll play with on a regular. He's an older man. He runs balls very well, and I got to keep him off the shot. So I love playing one pocket with him because it's good company. And we both try. And that means more than, finding some fucking fish to go play and make a good score. Cause if they're
Did
an
you buy the
asshole,
one pocket brand?
yeah, we bought Scott out like a couple of years ago, and then so I own a piece of it with a couple of other business partners of mine. So
Right. I got
um
one of those hats. I had to trade for it.
did you? The hats, we ain't made those in a minute. We're coming out with some new stuff, which is great, but it's I wouldn't recommend getting in the apparel business. I'll say that. So it's definitely not, it's not easy. So but yeah, I love playing pool. When I get around, when I find time, I will. But then there's other times when I'll be at a tournament for a week. I come home and this is what everybody thinks, right? Oh, you've been around all these fucking champions. You must be playing great. No, I'm there. I'll be lucky if I hit one rack of balls. Like at the Open, didn't play once, But all everyone thinks of when I get back home is you were at the U.S. Open with fucking champions and talking with all these great players. Surely you have to learn something. And I'm like, I don't get to play, So, but I enjoy the game. I love the game. And when I can, I will. But sometimes I just want to. It's like we talked about earlier about balancing life, right? When my time is valuable, and it is, then I have to decide, okay, am I going to go shoot, or am I going to go and take my girls to the park, or am I going to go and make up for the time when I was gone, because I'm going to be gone in a week also again. So it's like, you have to figure that stuff out, and I've been making them more of a priority than I have before in the past. And
Until they can play one pocket, right?
Yeah. Well, they got their own cues and they got a pink case, and then they're gonna want to play, which I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing.
You're gonna have a
But
team of players, man. I
yeah,
feel it.
yeah, we're gonna have a squad, that's for sure. So
Let them watch make them watch Sophia and Savannah. They'll really get into it.
Well, when I went to junior nationals, my daughter says when I got back, because she saw some of the stuff on the page, and she was like, "Dad, I gotta ask you a question." I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" She's like, "How come we couldn't go?" And I was like, well, Daddy was working. She's like, "Yeah, but I'm around that girl's age." And I'm like, oh, oh, okay, I can't argue with you. You are.
Not wrong.
Yeah, she's not wrong at all. So then I have to like, okay, how am I gonna, tiptoe around this one, right? But it's great. I love that they're finding little things to go and be passionate about the game, because that means we can bond more. I got Savannah and Shane's flyer here from a Friday Night Fights we did in Sacramento. This Bears Digest cover, I think that's right here, is Savannah, because she just was on the cover this month and hasn't come out yet. And I got a bunch of junior players and stuff signed from all different kinds of players, and it's
Can I
great.
steal your
And
background, like for my green screen?
take it, man. I got to
We just
reorganize
need
all
you
this
to
shit.
move. We
It's
need
a
you to
lot of like
move off the screen. We're
clutter.
going to take it, and then I'm just going to have your backdrop behind me.
I get these things when I'm at an event. Like I got this one from Ralph Eckert, and I got to speak with Ralph quite a bit at the Open. Great guy to talk to. He gave me this book. He personalized it to me. He signed it on here, and I can't wait to read it. And I'll get stuff like this, and from instructors and players, and I'm a fan, man. So like it's cool. I gotta watch a majority of the final there with Ralph, and so that part is cool. I forgot what I was doing. Oh, and I gotta watch a little bit of the final with Shane, and Tyler, and I'm just like,
What's
there.
Ralph's personality like? Because all I see is
Oh,
his videos, and he's very, very proper. And by the way, he's probably the best dresser of any pool coach ever.
yeah.
But
I said,
what's
I
he
said,
act
man,
like, man? What's his personality?
super charismatic. Got a lot of wit to him. Very sharp. I said, man, you're like James Bond of the pool world. And he said, Mike, that was my nickname like 10 years ago. And I said, was it really? I said, I could see that, man. Fuck, you look like fucking James Bond, and he's just a smooth operator. He's very sharp. It's interesting because Ralph being an older player, has a real like love-hate relationship with the WPA, right? And more hate than love. And so that's like a lot of these conversations over the last week have all been based around the WPA. And so Ralph was not it was, he's in a real interesting spot, because what I didn't realize was that Ralph is also the national coach for the German Federation. The German Federation is under the WPA, which is at odds with Matchroom, but yet Ralph is now the captain for the European Mosconi Cup on Matchroom. So we had some pretty like candid conversations that I didn't even realize was going on. But he's great to talk to. I would highly recommend getting him on. You would love the conversation. He's just a smooth guy, man. You know.
So did you get to talk to Lazaro any?
I did, yeah. I got an interview with him, but then Matchroom said no because he's underage. So
we're interviewing him Thursday.
Oh yeah, he's great, man. He's a real. I talked to him, I think maybe like 2 months ago. So he's a great.
He's gonna be
how
a
close. Kid. How close does he live to you? Where's he from?
A couple of hours, but I don't really get I don't really get a see him play a whole lot. When I go to the Open, I'll see him play, and I don't follow a lot of JIC stuff. I try to get more involved in junior stuff, but you only got but so much time in a day. But what that kid did was remarkable, because Natterberg is a monster. He's a monster. Like, he's a strong up and coming European player, not a strong up and coming junior European player. He's a strong up and coming player, and it just shows where Lazaro is at in his game. And to me, just lets me know what that kid's upside is like when he gets a little more sharper around the edges in certain areas. But when it comes to where he's at right now, I think he'll be on a bigger stage, not just in tournaments, but maybe on the Mosconi stage here in a few years, because he's got that level of talent, and I firmly believe that. So he'll be a great guest. He's a real good kid.
All right, I got a random question here. Can Texas put a squad together and beat every state in America? Top 5, top 10, whatever number you want to use.
So you mean 5 players? So
Mosconi Cup every state in the country.
Well, we'd get Sky, right? Because Sky's lived here for quite a while. By default, we'd have to get Roberto, because Roberto's lived in Houston for a few years. Who else? Who else would be on that team, Sean?
How about Jeremy Jones?
Jeremy Jones, yeah. Okay, there'd be another one. There's 3.
Maybe Charlie Bryant.
Okay. Maybe
10
Charlie.
years ago, Charlie.
Yeah.
Depends on if he's playing.
Who else? There's 3 or 4 players right there.
Blaine Barkis.
I like Blaine. Yeah. There's okay.
Rick Stanley.
Yeah, Rick plays good. I don't know if
he's a monster. Rick is a monster, by the way.
Oh man, let me see. Where does Fargo say the top 10 are at? Does everybody know?
I don't know if there is one for Texas.
Yeah, there's got to be. They got it.
There should be.
They got it state by state. Yeah, no, I think we could give anybody a run for their money for sure. I know Oklahoma doesn't want that smoke.
No.
No, I'm just giving you guys a hard time.
No, that's like Europe versus USA, Texas versus Oklahoma.
No. Actually, we'd probably get Chip, because Chip's been living here for a minute. So Chip,
he's back. He's back.
Is he back in Oklahoma? Well,
he's back. He's got a few years. He's got a broke foot or a broke ankle.
Oh, does he? Oh man,
yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
High ankle sprain.
That's no good. Well, I knew if it was maybe a year ago, we'd probably get Chip. But no, I mean, Texas has got some great players. It's a big state, so it'd be tough to compete. That's for sure. But there's a couple of monsters, Florida and Michigan, Ohio, California. There's a couple of really tough regions in the world, or in the country, I should say.
Well, do you have that like Texas pride?
No, not at all. No, I'm not. Look, I leave my Homer shit at the house. There's like a few guys that I'm genuinely a fan of. When it comes to pool, it's rare that I have that. Like Oscar's a real good friend of mine, so I'll root for him. But I'm also like very real with him when it comes to my thoughts on certain things, about his game. But when it comes to like being a fan, man, I'm a fan of Nadal in tennis, which he's really not playing anymore. And that's really the main thing. So, but yeah, no, I try to leave my Homer part out of it. Like even when it comes to Mosconi stuff, I root for who I think is going to win and the better story. But I'm also very real about, where their games are at. And that's not always easy because I've said before, guys are going to get heisted and then I got to go and see them in person. And then it's like, gets a little awkward, So,
When you
but
bet against them.
yeah, if I'm friends with somebody, like genuine friends, like if Oscar's in a match I think is bad, I'm not going to bet against them or on him. Everybody else feel like is a little bit more fair game. But for me, it's not worth the come up seeing my buddy lose, So even if I think it's a good bet the other way. But yeah, no, I mean, not everyone holds those same, morals or ethics or whatever, you know what I mean? But you could also say all is fair in gambling too, So but yeah, I mean it's
I don't gamble with anyone unless they're my friend.
really?
Yeah,
I can see that.
because we're gonna bet on something else the next day. Like we gotta just let it
Well,
go.
it's more I don't want to bet against somebody else beating you is my thing, because I don't want to watch my buddy lose. That's my whole thing, So and that's just my personal philosophy on certain things. But I root for like a great story. Like, and like at the US Open, I wanted to see Federer win, not because I think Federer was the best player per se, but because I've known him for a while and I want to see him get there. And I know how hard he's wanted it and how much he's worked to get there, So
And he deserves it.
he deserves it. Yeah, I do believe that, even like, look, I was talking with like Josh, man, and Josh was telling me, Filler, and he's like, I want to get on that team and earn my spot. And I'm like, well, you're a lock, man. He said, I don't care. I want to earn my way on that team, And so like, those are great things to learn about people because all everybody else sees is the pompous kid at the Mosconi Cup, talk a lot of shit and have a lot of confidence and, rub people the wrong way. But people don't know like how much it eats at them, right? How much they want it, and then how hard that they work in the background to get there. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And when you know that about someone, when you know their struggle and their path and their journey, how can you not help but root for them, right? I don't know how many people I've heard say, man, I thought Jason was a dick until I heard him talk, because all they see is this Mosconi Cup stuff, But
Yeah.
when they get to know the personalities of some of these guys, then they can genuinely decide whether or not, hey, I want to root for this guy or see the guy fall. Either way, And I like being a part of that, I like being able to share that with people because I've seen it, man. I've had opinions on people, and then I talk to them like, fuck, man, I had no idea. I had no idea what was really going on. You just think and then you go online and you act like but in reality you don't. And there's so many great stories like that. There's so many great guys like that in pool, man. That just can tell you something that blows you away, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I had no clue. Now I want to see you do well.
Right.
So, and it's full of it, man. There's so many people like that in the industry. There's plenty of assholes too, but there's a lot more good guys. And
I think you have to be able to be an asshole in moments. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
have teeth, right?
Yeah,
But
of course.
that doesn't make you an assoul. I mean, some
Well, you
people
can be a
say,
dick sometimes, and it's fair though. Like it's all about context, Like look, I'll give you an example, and not a guy who's a jerk, but just about how good some of these dudes are. Right? Dennis loses like a 6-figure match to Sky on the bar table playing 10 ball. Right? 5 seconds after the ball goes down, he's unscrewing his cue, and some little kid wants a picture with him, some little girl, and Dennis is fucking beat to pieces. And you know what he did? He goes there and takes a picture with the girl. This little kid made that little girl's fucking night, whatever, right? So it's like there's like the Hunter story. There's always those 3 sides to it. People can have a chip on their shoulder and be confident and have some showmanship, right? Because that's what pool needs. Pool needs a lot more of fucking Mike Massey's and these older generation players. They need that showmanship level. They don't need the quiet Federer sitting down there on the chair. You know what they need? They need the Federer doing this number here. They need the Federer getting the crowd riled up. They need more Josh standing on the fucking chair, Tyler pointing his cue out there and talking shit. That's what pool fucking needs. Cause you know what? Then it gets these emotions in you. It gets this genuine, like, you know, I gotta see what's going on now.
They need a Happy Gilmore.
Yes, you know, not fucking Albin sitting there quiet. I want Albin fucking slamming his cue and rolling his fucking eyes and
I thought
getting
that was
annoyed, and
Billy
then
Thorpe's. I thought that was Billy Thorpe's job.
well, yeah, Billy's a firecracker in his own right.
Yeah.
You know, but if players can learn a little bit more of that in this modern era, you know, like Federer calling out Shane the way that he did after his match with Tony, that's what Pool needs. Pool needs some fucking WWE in it. They need some UFC. They need some. They need some calling out. You know, they need some shit talking. And I can't say. I gotta be careful what I say. I can't say a whole lot, but I'll tell you, keep your eyes peeled on the pool world in the next week, because shit's about to really turn on its head. And I can't say a whole lot more than that, other than there's going to be a lot of stuff. There's a lot. Look, I can't say too much because I've already said too much, but there's the pool world's about to be turned upside down in a really good way.
I'm ready, man. I am so ready for people to think differently, think bigger, and honestly just step up. People are scared. Yeah, they're scared to show their face. They're scared to say what they think. And we're just quiet in pool. We're not quite a quiet group of people, but look at basketball fans or boxing fans or any fans of an exciting sport. They're not shy about saying how they feel at all.
No, you have to be able to have you have to play the crowd. Pool by itself will never work. Like, you just have a camera over a pool table, it'll never work. You know, the game, unless you're just a sicko and you just appreciate what you're watching. Right? But that's not masses. That's a select few group of people, you know. But if you have the personalities and it's presented well, then you can have, and then of course the great game that it is, right? And the exciting sports aspect of it. Then you can really have this thing that just blossom into what we all appreciate and what we all know it can be. And then the rest of the world can really get there. But until it's got all that, it'll never work. Now you got these younger guys who are coming out, who are showing a little bit of moxie and personality, and it's great, man. It is absolutely great. They just got to continue it. You know, don't be so fucking proper. You know, push.
Trying to be golfers.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. No.
All right, man. We've had him on here. We've kept him long enough.
We probably owe him money now.
No. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You guys, listen. You guys keep up with the work you guys are doing, because you guys are a part of it all too. You know?
You too, buddy. Hey guys, if y'all enjoy content like this, please hit that subscribe button below, and y'all make sure to follow Dogging It, and I'll leave a description or link in the description below. Give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment and let us know how we're doing. And we'll see y'all next time on the Pulling Around Show.
See you
Thank
guys.
you.